No, the Women's World Cup soccer team should not earn the same amount as men. Here's why. And newsflash, this has nothing to do with sexism. More people watch men's soccer than women's soccer. So the men's team creates a ton more ad revenue than the women's team. Therefore, the men's team is financially worth more than the women's team. Hence, the men's team is paid more. It's not rocket science. It's not sexism, unless you think the fact that the American people preferring to watch men's sports versus women's sports is some kind of misogyny. It's not. Here are the numbers. On Fox Sports, the women's soccer team averaged approximately 63,000 viewers when the network began airing the women's games in 2013. On the other hand, on ESPN, the men's soccer team averages 240,000 viewers every game. And yes, the Women's World Cup team gets on average the same number of viewers as the men's World Cup games. But that's only for a very short amount of time every 4 years. That would be like arguing that because Americans tune in to watch curling in the Winter Olympics every 4 years, that curling teams should earn the same as Michael Phelps. But when you translate the typical viewership of the women's team versus the men's team into advertising revenue, you can see this is not about talent. It's not about sexism. It's about revenue. In 2015, the Washington Post reported that women's soccer games earned only $17 million in ad revenue, while in 2014, the men's final game brought in $529 million in ad revenue. Again, this isn't about talent. It's not about sexism. It's about viewership and revenue. In fact, the women's team actually earns a higher percentage of the revenue they create compared to the men. Ash Show at the Daily Wire breaks this point down nicely. The men pocket 9% of the revenue that they created in the 2010 World Cup. It amounted to $348 million, while the women pocket 13% of the revenue they created at the 2015 World Cup. But that only amounted to $10 million because the women's ad revenue was so much less. So you can see for yourself that this narrative about the Women's World Cup team being paid less because of sexism is a lie. Because the women's soccer team has the same opportunity, an equal opportunity to the men, to earn as much as the men. The women have the opportunity to draw as many viewers as the men do. And if they do, they could earn as much ad revenue as the men. But they don't, because viewers prefer men's sports. This is the difference between conservatives and liberals, too. Liberals think equality means mandated equal outcome. Conservatives believe equality means giving everybody equal opportunity to succeed. The women have that equal opportunity. I'm super proud of the Women's World Cup team for representing the U.S. and kicking butt, and I love watching their games every 4 years in the World Cup. But no, unless the women's soccer team creates the same revenue and earns the same number of viewers as the men all the time, they do not deserve the same paycheck. And that is my final point.